Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to take that intimidating academic publishing ecosystem and transform it into a crystal clear step-by-step journey for your manuscript. I mean, if you've ever just stared at a finished paper and thought, okay, now what? How do I actually get this out into the world? Well, you are exactly in the right place.
Will my paper get published? It's literally the ultimate question every single researcher asks. You pour months, maybe even years, into your work, right? But taking it from a saved document on your hard drive to an officially published cited article, it can feel a bit like navigating a maze in the dark. So, today, we're flipping the lights on. We are going to look exactly at what happens behind closed doors to turn that blank document into a copyrighted reality. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover finding the right journal, looking inside the editorial review process, navigating those editorial decisions, the actual art of revision, and finally, proofs and copyright rules. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, Finding the Right Journal, or as I like to call it, the Matchmaker Sequence. Look, this is absolutely the most critical choice you're going to make. Before you even think about hitting that submit button, you have got to know your audience. The number one reason papers get rejected, and we're talking rejected without even making it to the review stage, is just a basic lack of fit with the journal's audience. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. You have to systematically align your topic and format with their readers. If you're submitting a highly technical research report to a clinical journal aimed at general practitioners, it's going to get rejected and you'll just lose valuable time. You really got to ask yourself, who actually needs this information, and how is it going to improve their specific practice or research? Now, part of finding that perfect match means understanding how journal prestige is actually measured. You've definitely heard these terms thrown around. Impact factor? That looks at a strict 2-year window of citations, specifically for journals indexed in Web of Science. Cite score, on the other hand, broadens that view. It looks at a 3-year time period for journals in the Scopus database. And actually, Cite score counts all documents in the journal, so things like editorials and letters, as having the potential to be cited. Both metrics are great for gauging visibility. But hey, remember this. A lower impact factor doesn't automatically mean the journal isn't highly valued by the specific clinicians or educators you are trying to reach. So instead of just guessing where to submit, use the vetting tools out there. They're incredible. For instance, the Directory of Nursing Journals is fantastic because it actively helps you avoid predatory publishers with, questionable practices. Then there are tools like Jane, the journal/author name estimator. You can literally just plug your abstract into Jane and its algorithm matches you with journals right in PubMed. And honestly, don't sleep on the power of a simple email. You can absolutely send a quick, brief query email to an editor. Just a few sentences about your manuscript to gauge their interest before going through the whole formal submission process. All right, moving on to Section 2, Inside the Editorial Review. Let's reveal that black box. So what is actually happening inside this mysterious black box? First off, we need to talk about how your work is judged. To guarantee fairness and really cut out any bias, most reputable journals use a blinded peer review process. Basically, experts are critiquing your work completely anonymously. In a standard blind review, the reviewers don't know who you are. But in a double-blind review, it goes both ways. Identities are totally hidden from both the author and the reviewers. And this is a good thing. It frees reviewers up to evaluate your paper honestly, without any worry about damaging professional relationships or facing some kind of retribution. Okay, but what exactly are these anonymous reviewers looking for? The American Medical Association breaks it down into 9 strict criteria, and they divide them perfectly down the middle between importance and quality. Your work might be a massive scientific advance and super clinically relevant, so boom, you've checked the importance boxes. But importance alone? It's just not enough. Your methods have to be rigorous, and your data analysis has to be completely spot on to guarantee that quality side of things. Seriously, reviewers are literally going down a mental checklist of these criteria as they read your manuscript.
Okay, on to Section 3, Navigating Editorial Decisions. This is the decision climax.
Once the reviewers finally weigh in, the editor looks at their feedback and makes the ultimate call. You're generally going to get one of 3 outcomes here. First is an outright accept for publication with 0 revisions required. Honestly, that is extremely rare. You almost never see it. The second is revise and resubmit. Now, I know a lot of new authors feel kind of bummed out when they get this, but listen to me. A revise and resubmit is a huge victory. It means the editor is genuinely interested and your paper has strong merit. And finally, the third outcome is reject. As we touched on earlier, this often just comes down to an audience mismatch, or sometimes the journal is just sitting on a massive backlog of similar papers. Look, rejection stings,
but it is never personal. There's this great quote from the Western Journal of Nursing Research that really hits the nail on the head. They say rejection should be normalized as an integral part of the scientific process. And it's so true. Even the most prolific, highly cited researchers get rejection letters all the time. The trick is to manage that initial sting, reframe the whole experience, use the reviewer's feedback to make your work even better, and just get ready for the next submission.
Which brings us to Section 4, the art of revision and how to defend your voice.
If you are lucky enough to land that revise and resubmit decision, you're entering a really delicate phase of negotiation. You'll probably open up your feedback and realize that the reviewers are actually giving you completely conflicting advice. Reviewer A says, expand this section, while reviewer B says, delete it entirely. What do? Well, the American Psychological Association specifically warns against something called slavish compliance with reviewer recommendations. Yes, respect their expertise for sure, but if you just blindly agree with every single conflicting comment, your paper is going to turn into an incomprehensible mess. You have to defend your voice. If a suggested change honestly just doesn't make sense, don't make it, but be prepared to thoughtfully explain why.
And that explanation happens when you send your revised paper back. Think of your cover letter as your shield. You've got to systematically map out every single change you made. I mean, literally noting the specific reviewer's comment, detailing your exact revision and response, and then giving the editor the exact page, paragraph, and line number where they can find it. And going back to what we just talked about, this is where you give a really professional, graceful rationale for any of those requested changes that you decided not to meet. Finally, we're at Section 5, Proofs and Copyright Rules. The finish line is in sight.
So your revised manuscript is officially accepted. Congratulations. The heavy lifting of the academic work is done, but the procedural publishing work is just starting. After acceptance, around weeks 2 to 8, the publisher's copy editors are formatting everything. But then, right around week 9, this super critical, high-pressure window opens up. You receive your proofs, which is the final PDF of exactly how your article will look in print. Here's the catch. You typically only get a strict 48-hour window to review these proofs and spot any critical errors. Remember, copy editors are great at grammar, but they aren't subject matter experts. They might accidentally change the entire meaning of a sentence while fixing a comma. It is entirely on you to catch that before it goes to print a month later.
Now, here is a wild fact that so many novice researchers just completely overlook. During this final phase, you're going to sign a copyright transfer, and once you sign that, the publisher becomes the legal owner of your paper, not you. That means if you want to reproduce a table or a figure or even a significant chunk of text from your own published paper in a future book, you actually legally need to get written permission from the publisher to use your own work. No way around it.
Okay, there is a small caveat here called fair use. This provision does allow you to quote small amounts of text without permission for things like teaching or scholarship. But if you ever need to heavily quote other works or even your own past papers, you've got to weigh 4 very specific fair use factors so you aren't accidentally infringing on copyright laws. You have to look at the purpose of the use, like is it educational or commercial? You need to consider the nature of the copyrighted work, the actual amount of material you're copying, and finally, what kind of effect your use will have on the market value of that original work.
Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground today. Now that we've totally unlocked that black box of editorial reviews, talked through the realities of rejection, and mapped out this entire manuscript journey from start to finish, the ball is in your court. The maze is cleared. So what groundbreaking research are you going to organize, refine, and publish next? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and seriously, best of luck out there on your publishing journey.